Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Jason Harwood, a speaker and coach who focuses on the fun side of habits and not just any habits, the habits that make you happier. Welcome to the show, Jason.
It is so great to be here. Thank you.
You
Exciting to spend some time together with you.
You are welcome. You are welcome to the show. You are welcome to India. And I'm sure not just in India, but all across the globe, people want to be happy. And that is
Yeah.
why they keep on working hard towards it. But happiness is very easily achievable. But many a times for some people, it is very elusive. So we'll try and understand from you how to create those happily ever habits. So first, to understand from you, Jason, is that what are these happily ever habits, and how do they make us happy? And is it different than what we are living in our day-to-day lives? Are they those happiness different? Help us understand this part of the happiness that you talk
Yeah.
about.
So for me, it was very different. That was part of the challenge. Is for me personally, I was lucky to have done a lot of research on habits, but more on the business development side, more on trying to become a better salesperson or a better manager or a better leader. And so I had done a lot of study there. There's a lot of study around habits as well as it relates to things like being healthy, eating better, managing your money better, all of those type of things. And what I found was is that I had been putting into practice a lot of those principles around how to create successful habits. But the problem was is that as I was getting to a place where I had what I thought would make me happy. I have a nice house. We live in a nice neighborhood. Family's good. Married, kids, all great. I have a good job. And yet, man, Jay, there were so many mornings when I would wake up and just think, oh my gosh, don't want to do today. I am kind of miserable and unhappy. And I couldn't figure out why because I had all the things I thought I had been working for so many years that would make me happy. And then I realized that's actually not the path that's going to bring us to happiness. And so I took those same principles that I had learned about creating habits, but I applied them to things specifically intended to change my happiness. So things like improving my gratitude, things like improving my humility, things like learning every single day. Things like having greater integrity, kind of doing the things that I say I'm going to do, things like showing more kindness and charity to others. And what I found was is that as I became intentional in some of these things and created habits, then all of a sudden I started feeling better about myself. And I didn't wake up thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to do today. I started shifting my mindset towards the things that I'm most excited about every day, the things that I'm most passionate about doing, and the things that bring me the most happiness. And so that simple shift really made a big difference. And it's all about being intentional for the things we really want, because that's often the biggest problem is oftentimes our lives just kind of become what they are without a lot of necessarily intention. We have a vision of what we want, but things change and things aren't going exactly the way we want to, but we just kind of adjust and we say, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. No, it's fine. And it's kind of like if you've ever been outside playing, we call it soccer or football, whatever. And it's
Oh,
getting darker, and it just keeps getting darker and darker and darker, but you just kind of keep adjusting and you keep thinking, oh no, it's fine, I can still see. No, it's fine, I can still see. No, it's fine, I can still see. And then all of a sudden you get hit in the face with the ball and you're like, oh man, it's really dark. Like it's
Right.
got, and sometimes that's what our life is. Our life is like playing that game outside at night when you're a kid and it just keeps getting darker and you just keep thinking, no, my life is okay. No, my life is fine. No, it's okay. And sometimes it just keeps getting a little bit darker, but you just keep convincing yourself, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. Until all of a sudden, boom, whether whatever happens kind of hits you and says, no, I got to make an adjustment. And so that's where we have to get to, is to just stop for a few minutes and say, no, this is not okay. I want to intentionally move towards a happier day, a happier life, and a little bit brighter. So it's like playing in a sunrise where it just keeps getting brighter and brighter and brighter rather than darker and darker and darker.
Right, right, Jason. So let's look at in both the aspects. One is the business aspect and one is the personal life. In our day-to-day life, we are aware about whatever happiness we can gather along the way, whether in an ice cream or whether in on a new phone or anything else, and we try to be happy. That is most of the people, in a general sense, that's what they understand. That this is happiness. You see a smile on your child's face, you are happy. That is special happiness.
Yeah.
But then that happiness is not consistent. We are not able to keep that consistent. So that part will come. In terms of businesses, now you have, talked to a lot of companies. You have received national and local awards in the US for speaking, and you focus on the growth of companies. So what do you tell them about happily ever habits? How does that work in a workplace? Is it about the lives of people, or it is also about the vision and mission of people and who are managing the affairs of the company, who are looking at the products and services? Help us understand both parts so that audience can understand. And many of them are entrepreneurs and professionals who want to do better in life, who are just starting out in their careers, in their things that they are doing, even as an entrepreneur. And if they get a sense of what you teach in so many places, that will be wonderful, and you will be spreading happiness everywhere.
Yeah. So these two things really do come together, and they feed off of each other. If you are unhappy in your work life or in your running your business, it's going to have an impact on your day-to-day life. It's hard to really dislike your job but be happy in your life. It's also true that if in your day-to-day life, you're miserable, you're unhappy, you feel unfulfilled, it's hard to then go and put your full effort and excitement and enthusiasm, those qualities necessary to truly be successful, into your work life. And so these things really tie together. So when I talk with businesses, or when I talk with business owners, or when I talk with entrepreneurs, I talk about working on both sides of this. One is, yeah, let's put in place 2 or 3 habits that can improve your mindset and your mental approach, just kind of in your personal life. Things like uh, a simple gratitude journal. Start every day, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Mine is right here. And so, boom, every single morning I can grab it and just write down the 3 things I'm grateful for. What this does is it puts you in a mindset of positive thinking. It puts you in a mindset of what's good, what's right, what's positive. And it also trains our minds to start looking for some of those things. So when you're in a work environment then, and you're trained to start seeing the best, you start to see things that you're grateful for and become aware of what's right. Now you start seeing better opportunities. You start seeing greater ideas. You have more creativity throughout your workday. Now, it is true that at your workday, these things are also important. And so we start putting in some consistent habits in our workday to make sure that we are creating habits around the things that bring the most value. Because both of these things, it's the same in both arenas. In my life, I want things that bring me the most emotional value. At work, I need to identify the couple of actions that bring me the most value. What are the things that if I do that, then I'm, even if I don't get everything done, I got to get these two or three things done. And one of the challenges for businesses is that that's almost always different. It almost always involves connecting, though, whether you need to connect more consistently with potential customers, you need to connect more consistently with your current customers, you need to connect more consistently if you're a manager with your direct reports, with your employees, if you're a business owner. So we would almost always create a habit around connection. But the key then is to do it in a way where you can maintain it and be consistent. I talk about starting and sticking. Oftentimes we start with something, but we don't stick to it. And there's three simple keys to starting and sticking. That is to start small. Whatever it is that you need to do, start small, make small improvements every day, but just know, okay, every single day I'm going to do this small thing. Maybe that's just connect with one person. Maybe that's follow up with two or three past customers. Maybe that's just start by making, 3 sales calls a day or responding to 3 emails a day. Start small, something you can do quickly and easily to start building your momentum. The next thing to do is to make it easier. So we craft the environment so that it's very easy. I mentioned I write my gratitude journal, and I was able to just reach right over and there's my gratitude journal. I have the same exact thing for business. If you ask me what are my core things that I need to do every day, I can get to it in one click. I can get to it in it's right here. I can just reach out, boom, that's the thing that I need to do. That way it's easier to get to. And then celebrate small wins along the way. Sometimes we wait and say, I'm not going to celebrate until, business is up 5% year over year, or I land a huge client, or, we reach our annual goals. When you wait to celebrate that long, then you reduce some of the positive emotion tied with the behaviors necessary to be successful. And our minds work on a reward system, basically. So if you do a behavior and then celebrate it, it reinforces in your mind that that's a positive behavior and you should do it again. And that starts to build the momentum and consistency around those behaviors that make the most difference.
Right, right, Jason. So many a times, when you want to start something good, some good habit, you find it difficult. So let's come down to the good habits and the bad habits. When you bad habits, you don't need to try; you just get them, and then you want to continue them. So why is it that people are able to continue with bad habits, which we consider as bad, but the person who starts considers it as the most happy thing, or for him or her?
Yeah.
And how would you like to put it that bad habits and good habits, they work out so differently in terms of their adoption level, adoption rate, if you want to call them.
Yeah.
Second thing is, in organizations or even in our lives, when we try to look at something, we say, okay, I'll just try it, and then you will get over it, and but you are not able to. There are so many other, either in terms of drugs, alcoholism, or even the smaller things. So how does a young person or a young entrepreneur or businessman realize that, okay, this is not a good habit, but a bad habit I am trying to adopt? So how do they do that part of the thing?
Yeah, thank you. This is an important topic because in his book, The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg talks about this idea of habit and how ingrained they become in our minds. And he suggests that it is really almost impossible to break a habit. What we're striving to do is replace, because that habit is just so deeply ingrained in our minds that the what we want to strive to do is replace the habit with something else. And he talks about a habit circle where there's a cue, something that triggers something that engages you. So like you come home from work. When we come home from work, we often have the same exact habit pattern. When we're getting ready for bed, when we get up in the morning, when we get to work, when we're interacting with coworkers, we these things click and we respond in very consistent ways. I It's always fascinating to me when people say, "Oh, I'm not very good at being consistent. I'm not a very consistent person. I struggle with being consistent." And I start talking with them about some of the consistent things that they do in their life. And it turns out for most of us, we're actually very consistent. It's change that's the problem, right? So when we want to make a change, we run into the challenge of, man, it's hard for me to make changes because I am stuck in consistent patterns of past behavior. So there's a couple of cues here then in how we would maybe break a bad habit. One is this idea of replacement. So if, for example, you're kind of in a bad habit of you go to lunch, you come, you sit at your desk and you're a little bit tired. And so maybe you, I don't know, pick up your phone and start scrolling through social media, or you get on YouTube and start looking through, videos, and it's maybe a time waster. Then
Right. Except
create.
except for this video, all are
This is
time
not a
wasting.
time waster. Yeah,
Right.
this is not a time waster.
Right.
This is adding benefit to your life, right? So, then you think, okay, what's the cue? Well, I go to lunch, then I come, I sit back down at my desk, and I almost always find myself kind of wasting time after lunch. Okay, so change the thing. You're going to set up for yourself a rule. You're going to say the thing that I need to do is actually follow up with two past clients. Okay, so I'm going to go to lunch. As soon as I sit down after lunch, boom, I'm immediately going to follow up with two past clients. Now, again, keep it small so you're not saying, I'm going to spend an hour following up with past clients, because you're going to sit down and go, oh my gosh, I don't want to spend an hour. No, just small. Start to build momentum and start to slowly change behavior. Maybe it's even just one. I'm just going to come, I'm going to sit down after lunch, and I'm going to immediately follow up with one past client. So find where you have a habit that you are doing that you don't like. Maybe it's at home. Maybe you come home, you eat dinner, and you immediately go sit and turn on the TV, and you spend 2 hours watching TV. Okay, change the thing. I immediately finish dinner, and the first thing I'm going to do is just go outside and walk around my neighborhood for 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be long. Just get outside, get some air, move your body a little bit. 10 minutes of movement will make a big difference. Now I come back and, okay, now I'm ready to, maybe better engage with my children. Now I'm ready to focus in on maybe reading a book or doing some other things, something around the house or something around the yard or garden that needs done, right? So it's identifying this is a specific thing that I want to change, and say, okay, I'm going to replace it with something more positive. I'm going to replace it with something more productive. And that's where it's really important, because we start to identify what are the things that are most important for me in my business. What are the things that bring the most fulfillment for me? So for me, I've gotten into like woodwork and just making little tables. And so when I find myself kind of slipping into being bored and lazy and feeling like I'm just sitting there wasting a bunch of time, boom, I'll just get up, go out into my garage, and just spend 10 minutes working on some kind of little project. And I actually have, I don't know if you can see it. There's one right there's a couple of the tables that I've been working on
Yeah.
building here, and so it's not big, it's not huge. I just spend 10, 20 minutes, okay, I'm going to do this now. Okay, I'm going to cut these pieces. Okay, I'm going to stain those pieces. And I don't even do anything with these. I just do them because I like them. But man, it changes the way I feel. I go from feeling like, oh, I'm just kind of wasting away the day. I'm not being very productive. I'm not really getting anything done, to feeling like, hey, I got that done. Okay. And now I'm in a positive momentum state where I can say, okay, now what's the next thing I want to do? And now I can take on the next thing. So same thing happens at work. You go to lunch, or you get there for the first time, man, get one thing done quickly, get a small win in as fast as possible and start the momentum of, okay, I got that done. Now what's the next thing I got to get done? And you'll see an almost immediate change in productivity and accomplishment.
Right, right. There is so much to learn about happiness, and especially from you. You do a lot about you educating people on happiness. So one is your podcast, which you are the host of, Happily Ever Habits, and the book also, Happily Ever Habits. Tell
Yes.
us about them both, so that your book contains, and secondly, how can people connect with your podcast? You talk a lot about who are the type of people that you bring on your podcast.
Yeah. So primarily on the podcast, I do have small business owners, entrepreneurs. I try to find people who have been successful in business. And then I ask them, what are some of the things that you're doing to be successful? What are some of these key actions that we should strive to be consistent on? And then I ask them how they built that as a consistent habit. And then the book is really intended as a roadmap. We go through those things in much more depth. I mentioned start small, make it easy, and then celebrate small wins. And we dig deep into how to do each of those. And then before that, we identify what are the key areas of your life that, because it was funny, a couple of months ago, I have a son, he's 20, and he said to me, Dad, what's the habit I should start? You tell me, what habit should I start doing? And I said, his name's Josh. I said, man, Josh, it's not really my job to tell you, like, start this habit. It's my job to say, let's identify, where are you feeling a disconnect? Where are you feeling a lack of fulfillment? And I always mention gratitude journaling because that has a lot of positive impact. Meditation, a lot of positive impact. Just spending even 10 minutes a day in just sitting quietly has so much impact. That's often because so many people struggle focusing on what's positive, seeing what's good, identifying where good things are happening in their life, because we get really wrapped up in failure and negativity. And so that's what the book does. It helps you clarify what's most important, what helps you feel fulfilled in life and happy. And then let's, boom, create a plan. So you're going to leave with a plan of exactly what to do to
Right.
implement habits.
Right. So, Jason, where can one get that book, and how do people connect with you in case they want to learn more about you? And who doesn't want to understand more about happiness habits, either in business or in life? So, how do they do that? And especially if organizations want to engage with you professionally.
Yeah. The best place is website, thejasonharwood.com. thejasonharwood.com is my website, and links to my social media, links to buy the book, links to, connect with me if you want a in-person or virtual training on this for your organization.
Wonderful. Wonderful. On this happy note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.